Josh and I used to come here and get books on CD for car rides.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah. And we'd drive back and get like The Hobbit or like.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd drive there and back in 30 hours and the book still wouldn't be over.
Yeah, we didn't think about that. We would get one time we got like what's his name? Ron White, is that his name?
Yep.
We'd listen to his comedy, and every time like if we ever hit that like spot on a highway like again, both of us just have like the memory of like a joke.
Takes you back to one joke. Yeah. That's great.
So,
Oh man.
I've only been talking about trees. So.
Certified arborist. Future certified arborist.
I hope so. Hopefully in like a month. I'm waiting on my application to go through. It is a pricey process.
Really?
It's like $50 to apply. They have to approve you, and then it's $350 for the exam.
Wow.
That's crazy.
To take the test. Yeah.
That they have to.
Somebody's got to pay for those trees, though. That's
Yeah.
it goes to keep them
to,
growing.
Yeah. They have to approve you. Like you have had to have 36 months of like arboriculture experience, and so they have to review your experience.
I see.
Basically, got to give them a CV or something. Like,
Yeah, it was.
here's-
Tree proof.
Yeah.
Certified. Good luck.
Welcome back to a new episode of Noise and Nonsense. Today we are sitting down with Ben Fowler. How are you, Ben?
I'm doing pretty good today. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good.
Great. Thank you for taking some time and sitting down with us.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just curious, Ben.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about with you.
Mm-hmm.
What are you currently up to right now?
Okay. Well, it's always a bit of a juggling act. I run the Jefferson Street Music Studio, which is a recording, teaching studio as well as a rehearsal space. We reside in the old Echo Park Studio B building over on the northwest side of Bloomington. And so today I've been teaching some lessons, and tonight, although this doesn't help our listeners, I'll be playing at the Orbit Room this evening in early February, playing a solo set on guitar. I also am running an instrumental band that where I write the music and play drum set, and that band has bass and electric guitar, electric bass, and saxophone. Tenor sax is what we have on our team right now, and we're gearing up to play some shows for the first time in about 8 months after getting a new horn player in the band after having a couple of members move on last summer. So I've been rehearsing that group and I played at a couple of different bands as a hired drummer this past month. I got to sit in with a group called Tortilla Jackson. That's like an 8-piece Latin jazz kind of a band, Latin soul, Latin jazz kind of a band, and then played in the Sam Finley Trio at the Art Walk this last evening. And so just staying busy, teaching and recording and gigging a little bit more than I used to be, and kind of seems like the gigging side has been picking up lately, and that's been fun.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, when I do a little research, for you, it's like 3 pages of information. So you have been a busy person.
I'd love to read them, yeah.
The music scene. So you graduated from IU?
I did. I got a degree in a bachelor's in jazz studies with a focus in percussion in 2008.
And you studied with John Vidakovich?
Vidakovich.
There we go.
A little bit, yeah. He's still kicking down in New Orleans, and he used to, when I was in high school and college, he would come through Bloomington on tour with a really fun, really like out there kind of experimental funky jazz group called Astral Project. And he's a really unique drummer, and I got to pick his brain and got a few private lessons in Bloomington and a few private lessons in New Orleans over the years too.
That's awesome. New Orleans, I went for the first time last year. Great city.
Yeah, it's a really amazing place.
Yeah, I fell in love within like the first 4 hours.
Yeah.
It's just, I want to go back so bad.
Yeah, there's so much going on there, so much good food, so much good music, so much just talent oozing from all these clubs, all these music venues are just full of incredible rhythm sections and horn sections and groups playing on the street. And
Didn't you play on the street in New Orleans with a parade band?
Yeah, I used to run a group called the Jefferson Street Parade Band. We were active from the spring of 2009 until about February of 2020. So we had like an 11-year run. We, from I think the first time we played in New Orleans was summer of 2014. We got a connection at a club down there called the Blue Nile, which is on Decatur Street, just east of the French Quarter, the open air market that's there. It's a couple blocks over from the open air market. And one of the drummers in the parade band is a guy named Ben Handel, and he used to play in a competitive drum line with a guy named Jesse Page, who runs that club. And so Ben talked to Jesse, and we were on our first tour, and he managed to get us a 3-hour gig on a Friday night at the Blue Nile.
Nice.
And those were high times. That was an amazing night of music. Fun fact about New Orleans, if they book you for a 3-hour gig, you're not supposed to take a set break, because in that city, people can buy a drink in one club, walk out the door with it, and walk into another club with their drink. And so when you're in this part of the city where like there's 5 good clubs on every block, if you stop playing, everybody leaves. With their drink, and they go hear somebody else play great music. Yeah. So we got reprimanded strongly for trying to take a set break, and we played there many times since then. They kept having us back, and you just take a lot of drum solos to give the horns a break, and take a lot of guitar solos to give the horns. You just make it work for 3 hours, and it's a marathon, and it's totally beautiful too.
Yeah, that sounds intense.
Yeah.
Down, like you said, you can just walk down the street. Bourbon Street wasn't my favorite after 2 p.m. for reasons as an old guy. But, there's just like band by band by band.
Yeah.
And they're all players. Everyone was just a player. I was like, this is awesome. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
Even the street musicians, it was like 8:01 a.m. Some guys in front of the cathedral just blasting away on bagpipes. And it was like the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Yeah.
We felt when the parade band got to go down there, for the first time, we were kind of nervous, as like we had our own sort of we weren't a New Orleans brass band, but we were a brass band. It was like we were playing some West African music, some Brazilian music, some Cuban music, some like a lot of originals that are in sort of wacky time signatures, and we kind of wondered, going to this mecca of brass bands, if it was going to feel too out of touch with the tradition and people might not want to hear it, But it was such a beautiful night in part because we felt really accepted there. It was like people were curious to hear what we were up to, this brass band from Indiana. And I think Johnny Vodakovich stopped in before he had a gig. He came and listened for a little bit. Cyril Neville showed up for a little bit, and the comment that we got passed on to us from the bartender was that he thought it was cool that we were playing a Thelonious Monk song. We were playing Bimsha Swing when he was in there, and he thought that was pretty sweet to hear a brass band playing that. So there's moments like that you just can't, those stay with you. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I want to take it back a little bit, since you are a big influence to a lot of upcoming musicians. Where did Ben Fowler start, and what was your first instrument?
Okay, yeah. Back at the beginning, I remember being about 8 years old and asking my dad to show me. Well, my mom taught me some piano when I was a kid, and I did not have a knack for it. Like she would show me a song, and the next day I couldn't remember it. She would show me that same song again, and the next day I couldn't find it again. And I just felt like lost in this sea of black and white keys. So that didn't make sense to me when I was a kid, for all her efforts. And then no children were harmed in the making of this episode. We're in a public place. No, my dad. I remember asking my dad to show me some chords on a guitar when I was 7 or 8 years old, and he showed me a chord, and it immediately hurt my left hand to hold the frets. And after trying it for like a minute, I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do this. So I set those two things down as a kid. And then when I was 10, my parents got me a pair of drumsticks, because I had expressed being curious or excited or interested in the drums. So they got me a pair of sticks, and for a couple of years I just would put on music that I liked and play 8th notes or 16th notes along, just like keep time along with music that I was listening to. And then when we moved from North Carolina to Indiana in 1997 when I was 12, and we got a drum set that summer. I bought a set of drums down in Orleans, Indiana, just south of Mitchell where we were living. And And I tried to figure it out on my own for the better part of a year, or for that whole summer. I just tried to, I think what I was doing was like playing eighth notes on different parts of the kit along with songs that I liked and being like, this is not what they're doing. This is not what they're doing. What is going on? I got really frustrated and kind of quit messing with it for the winter. And then in the spring, around the time I turned 13, we had a computer, old now, but a computer from, a late 90s computer with a dial-up connection. And I remember when I was 13, like going online and looking up drum lesson or something like that. And I found like bobsfirstdrumlesson.com or something hilarious like that. And it was a written basic rock beat with everything labeled, like these X's along the top represent your right hand, your dominant hand playing the hi-hats. Those are eighth notes. The bottom line is the kick drum. The middle line is the snare drum. Boom, chick, bop, chick, boom, chick, bop, chick. It had like a little recording of it. It listed some songs where you could hear drummers playing that beat. And I figured out how to play it. And then it all started to make sense. And then I started recognizing what I was hearing. That same summer, I started taking lessons at Smith Holden with a guy named Chris Ellison, who was in a band called Homunculus at the time. I studied with him for 2 or 3 months, and then he promptly moved with his band to Ohio. And I found a teacher down in Bedford named Brad Brown and studied with him for a year or two. And then we were living in Mitchell through all that time. And then when I was going to start high school, my parents let me homeschool for 7th and 8th grade. So I was learning drums and like whittling walking sticks and like using CD-ROMs to study science and math and grammar in the mornings, and kind of just had a lot of time on my hands for those couple of years. And that's when I started playing drums. When it came time to start high school, we figured I'd go to a public school. My parents were both working in Bloomington, and my brother was having like a pretty so-so experience of high school down in Mitchell. And we ended up renting a room from a family friend so that I could, like in Bloomington over near Bryant Park, and so that we could tell BHSS that I lived in Bloomington. And I started going to Bloomington South, and my dad would drive me up here early enough to catch a bus and for him to go to work. And it was a really positive thing to come to high school up here, because I pretty quickly met some people who wanted to start a rock band, which is the only thing I had on my mind at that point, was wanting to play some rock and roll. And so it all started taking shape from there, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that it doesn't surprise me that drums like were your first instrument, but it does, just because you are like
I've come around to the guitar and the piano and stuff over the years, and saxophone. But that when I was a kid, they made no sense to me.
Yeah. So when did saxophone start?
When I was 26.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Did it sounds like drums kind of came natural to you after
I had some context. Thanks,
drummer.
Bob. Wherever you are. Yeah.
Did you feel that fluidity moving into your other instruments, or did that feel like that took more work for you to get good at? Or
I think they all took a lot of work, including the drums, but I was passionate enough about wanting to get good at the drums that I did the work.
Yep.
And I started playing guitar not too long after I started taking lessons on drums and stuff, but I had no dedication to it as a teenager. It was I would pick it up and fiddle with it and set it down for a week. And, if you only play the drum set, you can end up kind of yearning for some kind of control over melody and harmony that's just not in the cards on the drums. And so I think dabbling on the guitar when I was a teenager was a nice little outlet, but it'd be like, oh, that's how that song goes. I got a little piece of a riff that I like. But it wasn't like the drums were like, I was pretty driven I would play along with lots of albums and just like play along with whole records and try to learn it, try to figure it out. And I would be reading out of method books. And Chris Ellison was a good teacher. He got me started, and Brad Brown had some good challenges for me. I had the third drum set teacher that I had once I started high school, maybe around the time I was a sophomore or something. I studied with a really, really great teacher named Ryan Fitch, and he played in a funk band in town called Donagas, and he was going to school. It seemed like I was realizing while I was in high school that a lot of the best drummers in town were going to college for it, either in classical or as jazz studies majors. And the only way to focus on drum set in college here at IU is to be at least at that time, was to be a jazz major. So I started trying to learn to play jazz and eventually played in the jazz bands at Bloomington South as a junior and a senior and studied that stuff with Ryan Fitch and another. After a couple of years of studying with Ryan, he moved to New York City, and that dude actually let me come and stay with him when I was like 17. He let me come and crash his Brooklyn apartment for 2 or 3 nights, and I went and saw a bunch of great music in New York when I was 17. I got to see Grant Green Jr. and alto sax player named Steve Coleman and another alto player named John Zorn, and all 3 of those shows blew my mind. It was really, really great.
Where in Brooklyn were you? I lived in Brooklyn for 6 years.
Oh, cool. I don't remember what neighborhood he was in.
At your friend's apartment?
I was at my friend's apartment, and I was a kid, yeah. I went to a club called Tonic 2 of those nights, which was a great spot, and it's since closed, but that was a great little jazz club.
Greenpoint, maybe?
Maybe. It definitely wasn't too far over the bridge, like from Manhattan to Brooklyn. But it's a long time ago. I don't remember what neighborhood it was.
Crazy place Brooklyn was. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I lived in Bedford-Stuyvesant, which
Gotcha.
is crazy.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can put it.
Yeah. Wild place. I got to live in Queens for like 4 months one
cool.
time. I got to get to know that city a little better in like 2009. Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about the music studio?
Sure.
And what
present day?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the studio has been there nearly 10 years. We're in the process of planning out a 10-year anniversary party for May of this year. We opened in May of 2016. And I guess what I had been doing before the studio opened, for 6 years or so before that, was teaching out of other studios, teaching drum lessons and a little bit of guitar. And I taught at Rewind from 2010 to 2015, back when it was on 6th Street, right by it.
Used to practice there.
Cool, yeah, right by where the video shop is now. Whatever it's called, Plan 9 or Vulture Video. Yeah. I taught there for 5 years, and then I moved out of there and taught at what is now the Blockhouse Bar. Before it was a bar, I taught out of that basement, and from 2015 to 2016, and then thanks to Andy Burgee, who had been renting the studio that I'm in now and was going to be moving out of it, I got to take over the rent at what is now my shop.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yep.
Drum club? Is that something you do, right?
Yeah, the Bloomington Drum Club at JSMS. That's right. That's a brand new thing. I do a lot of one-on-one teaching, and I have been, over the winter holidays, taking a little bit of time off of work and just thinking about, we have this great live room. The main room of the studio is a great place for a get-together, and I've been thinking about other modes of teaching that would be fun. And there are 2 other drum teachers at the shop, Chuck Roldan and Dave Dwinell. And we had a meeting and talked about this idea of doing a monthly drum club where we have it's basically a 2-hour master class where we focus on one drummer once a month. And along with that, everybody brings practice pads or borrows a practice pad and plays some rudiments and learns some beats. And we do some listening and some watching on YouTube of a given drummer, somebody that's been influential to us. And this first one was at the end of January. I ran the class on Mitch Mitchell from the Jimi Hendrix Experience, and it was so much fun. It's great to just take that month leading up to it to transcribe some things and learn to play them and assemble some rudiments that seem to filter into his drum fill ideas. People love it. I tell you, kids are just screaming about it. These fills are nuts.
This is gonna be so fun to edit.
Oh man. Yeah, but we're the 3 of us. The 3 teachers are going to take turns running the class. There's going to be one on. It's always going to be the last Thursday of the month, as hard as that may be to remember. That's what it is. And the next one is going to be. The upcoming one is going to be on John Bonham on February 26th, and then we're going to have a class on Ringo Starr toward the end of March, which Dave Dwinell will run. Chuck's doing the Zeppelin or the John Bonham class.
Nice. Are you going to get? Yeah, are you getting a pretty good turnout for the class? Oh, I know you said you've had one.
We've only had one. We had about 18 people came out, and awesome. we're gonna continue to spread the word, get more flyering. We're going to we are going to get some promo on FHB this month and just try to build it. It feels really like something that we can keep building, As the months go on, we hope to get more than 18 people through there. It looks like the one in March that's going to be focused on Ringo Starr is going to be on Thursday, the 26th of March.
Nice.
Yep.
What level of drummer?
Any and all.
Any and all?
Yeah. And we, we're not asking everybody who comes in to jump up on the drums and read a transcription. We just want to expose you to some of their ideas, demonstrate a bunch of stuff and send you home with some transcriptions of that stuff. If the rudiments that we start the class with are above and beyond your reading level or your skill set, you can sit there and play quarter notes and mark time in the room and just soak it in and check out what everybody's doing and how they're moving.
That's great. Even for a beginner, just having that exposure to others around you.
Totally.
Inspiration.
You're building community.
Alone,
The inspiration.
What's everybody doing? Yeah. That's the goal. Get everybody together, get a bunch of drummers. And it's open to people who aren't drummers. We have a piano teacher named Rio Kaneko who came out and he likes Hendrix's music a lot and he wanted to check it out. And he came away having a much bigger understanding of your basic stick technique on the drums and how some of these beats work. And he had a lot of fun, though he doesn't play drum set,
Yeah.
So it's open.
So you've been mentioned so much on this podcast.
It warms my heart, I tell you. Yeah.
I feel like almost every single.
Literally.
Yeah. So you do offer a space for musicians who don't have a practice space that they can rent out.
Yeah, we offer
Jefferson
rehearsal
Street.
space at Jefferson Street Music Studio, and a lot of that takes place when I've gone home for the night or so forth. It's we keep open hours until as late as 1 a.m. for bands to rehearse, and it's we charge $20 an hour, and it comes with a PA system and a drum set with some cymbals and 2 guitar amps and 2 bass/keyboard amps and some mics. So you should be fully set up to come in there and work on tunes.
I just started jamming with a band that practices there, and I'll say it's great.
Awesome.
It sounds great there. It's comfortable.
Cheers.
It's a cool time.
Yeah, I've actually only played with you there.
Yeah.
When I first started Rearview Ronda, Ben was amazingly helpful to just get some drum tracks down just so I could kind of make the music come alive a little bit.
Yeah, Stefanie came in with a bunch of songs pretty much finished, and I think if I'm remembering right, you were like, what would you play on drums behind some of these? What would hold it together? And do you know a drummer who's looking to be in a band?
Yeah, Ben also. Yeah,
I
introduced Ty and I
eventually found such a player. Yeah, eventually Ty was taking lessons and got you two connected, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we're greatly appreciative of you.
Heck yeah. And we've gotten to record. I engineered the first 2 Rearview Ronda EPs and the first full-length album, right?
Yep.
And the first 2 EPs were at Jefferson Street Music Studio, and the first album, which I believe was called Tell Your Dog I Said Hi. Is that the one?
No. The first album was Glutton for Bad Energy. Yeah.
Glutton for Bad Energy.
Yeah.
We recorded that at Echo Park, which is Andy Burgie's studio right next door to mine. And I think I recorded it and Greg mixed it, if I'm remembering right.
I think so.
Yeah. I think that
sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, great fun. Really good times making those records happen.
I forgot to tell you I had a dream about Rearview Ronda. We played a show together. This is because seeing Ty with double bass kicks. We shared a drum kit.
That gets dangerous when he does that.
Yeah. And he got to use our drummers with he's got double kicks himself.
Nice.
And
awesome.
Yeah, Ty went crazy.
Yeah, that sounds
wonderful.
like it could be true.
Yeah. Maybe it will be one day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now your solo stuff, how does that differ from your trio?
I don't have a trio. I sat in with a jazz trio last night. I was a hired gun with the Sam Finley trio. So the group that I lead is kind of this outlet for the music that I write. It was born out of I had a goal as the parade band was getting old, when people always make some assumptions when I tell them that the parade band called it quits in 2020 or spring of 2020, but we actually had planned to do well. So when the club called the Blue Nile in New Orleans, after we played there that summer in 2014, they had us back for Lundi Gras and Mardi Gras every year since then, from 2015 to 2020. And I guess toward the end of the parade band's time, I got pretty tired. I can't speak for everybody. I think a bunch of us got pretty tired of having dear friends who were many of whom were horn players move away over the years, and we kind of kept having to hire like college kids to come fill out the band, and we were trying to teach them like 23 songs that we would play live, and they would be inevitably really busy and overbooked and great players, but cramming 23 songs into the mind of a really busy young person doesn't work great, and it requires a lot of rehearsal, and then like it's only ever 2/3 of a very large band at a rehearsal, and it was really hard. What I'm getting at is it was really a pain in the butt to try to finish new songs, because I kind of, when I was in that stage of, at that time, I really wanted to hear my musical ideas rehearsed so that I could go home and be sure of what I was getting at and if it was working. And I kind of used it it ended up kind of being a crutch, like, oh, I can't get everybody there, so I can't quite hear my arrangement. I'll try to finish it next week. And I just wouldn't finish a lot of new music because of what a logistical uphill battle that band was. Long story short, we decided to do the Mardi Gras tour in 2020, long before we knew there was a pandemic coming, and let that be the last hurrah for the band. So we did that. We were in New Orleans right at the end of February for a big old party, and then hung it up. We did shows in Nashville and Mobile and New Orleans, like a 5-day tour, and then came home and promptly everything ground to a halt 2 weeks later. Yeah. But during the pandemic, I started. Since I have this awesome workspace that is a recording studio, when many of my students called it quits in March and April, and the other students went to video lessons for a long time, I have found that I had a lot of free time at the shop. So I started, I guess, what I'm trying to say is when we decided to hang up the parade band, a kind of thing I tried to commit to for myself was to write and really complete the writing of a bunch of new music. And when the pandemic happened, I had the luck of having time at this studio where I could multi-track my ideas, and I can play some bass and guitar and saxophone and drums and sing and this and that. And so I just started trying to make a record, or started trying to record ideas, and it eventually led to making a record. And that, when I finished that album and released it, it took 3 years. I think it came out in May of 2023. I wanted to put a band together to play it live. And so then the Ben Cartha Project was born out of that.
That's right. It's a project, not the trio. That's right.
Yeah, the Ben Cartha Project. It started out as like maybe a 5-piece band, I think. It was I think it might have been 4 for a little while, and then it was 5. And it's like drums and percussion and guitar and bass and bari sax. That was the goal for a while. That was the lineup for a while. That album is called One Mind Temple, and it's out on streaming platforms and Bandcamp.
What all do you play on that album?
Instrumentally?
Yeah.
Just about everything.
Just about everything?
Yeah. Ben Handel played some congas on a track called Looking for My Teeth, and there's one song that was recorded as a live trio. This song called Tropical Depression Fred had Matt Romey playing bass and Nick Romey playing guitar, and then I overdubbed some more guitars on it. And percussion, and there's a song on there called Frustrations that my friend Tim Baker played bass on, and I think everything else is just me.
Awesome. So you just start out with your drum track? And then
some songs I would start with drums. Mm-hmm. The workflow that I found pretty good results from was like, well, there were some songs that did just start out as a drum idea, and I would build something out of that and find something, arrive at some kind of thing that sort of came to life. But a lot of songs, if it was something that I wrote on guitar, I would put on a metronome or a click track or whatever and play like a scratch take of the guitar, maybe guitar and vocals. And then I would record a drum track to that. Like I would have a click and I would have a guitar take that laid out the form and kind of the energy of the song, the flow of the song. And I would match that on the, get a good drum take. And then I would redo the guitar, add bass, redo the vocals, add bells, is just a fun explorative process, seeing what fit.
So I've recorded with you. So do you like get everything set up in the mixing room and then you walk out, and is it just like a lot of
back and forth, back and forth? Oh yeah. To the drums,
a lot of steps,
to the computer, to the drums, to the computer. Yeah. There is a bit of that. Yeah. It's nice to invite a friend over to hit the button, if you can and stuff. But yeah, there was a lot of walking back and forth to make it happen.
Doors.
Yep. Oh, I pushed almost all the right buttons. I got to go back in there. Yeah.
Yep. that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, but it's fun. You know, it's sort of meditative and sort of like helps you focus. It's like you have to get focused on whatever instrument you're trying to land. Like the opening track on that album is one called Deep Symbols, and that was the first song that I started making basically right after I finished my taxes in 2020. I was like, okay, free time. I got free time at the shop. Like I got my stuff turned in, crunched all these numbers and filed my taxes and didn't have much work to do, you know? So that was, it was like, I'm going to mic up my drum set and see what comes of it. Yeah. And, but if, you know, a few months later, I was trying to figure out a saxophone part for that. And it definitely took me 2 weeks to get a good take, you know? It's like, it's just a long game and that's the instrument that I know the least well out of all of them. But I'm proud of what came of it, you know?
Yeah, I had actually forgotten, but the pandemic was what I started some bass lessons with you. I think our relationship started by my kid taking drum lessons, my son.
Lincoln, yeah.
Yeah, and then he could not do online drums.
Yeah, what a hard thing to do.
Yeah, so I was like, can I take over that spot? And then just took a handful of like bass lessons, and then eventually tried drums for a while, and then realized I would love to do drums, but I don't have the time to
do both, to juggle it all.
On it,
yeah, we worked on some fun songs on drums too. It was like was it Sleater Kinney tracks?
Yeah, I'm a giant Janet Weiss fan.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
She's an amazing drummer. So
indeed, yeah, it was really fun making sense of those.
Quite a challenging person to learn, but it was a lot of fun.
That's great.
Drums look super fun. I'm so uncoordinated though that like, there's no way.
I don't know. I felt like once I started learning, it wasn't as like moving multiple like body parts wasn't as challenging. It was more about just learning like the patterns and rhythm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely a process. It's rare that I have a student. It's really rare that I have a student come in where the feeling after a few months is like, this probably isn't for you. You know, in most cases people can learn, people can build on some skills and keep developing. And I've had teachers over the years who are really incredible. Maybe they were great at the drums as a young kid and they never really had that hard of a time of it. And, you know, maybe those teachers aren't so good at explaining things. I think for myself, like I really had an uphill climb as a 12, 13-year-old. Like I did not know what it was about. I didn't know how it works. I didn't get it as a kid. And so I think I'm maybe better at explaining things and breaking them down because I had to sort of slowly work through that in my own lessons as a teenager.
Yeah.
You know?
From personal experience, I feel like you do as well. And then you're also extremely patient. Now, my daughter is also a student of yours.
Yeah, Drew.
Drew has a lot of energy.
Yes, she does. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by your patience. So.
It's been good. She's a pretty fiery young player, you know.
Yeah.
How old is she now?
She's 9.
She's 9. That's what I thought. Yep.
I think she started playing when she was like 6, maybe, like standing up and
banging back and forth on the drums. Yeah.
I can see Drew playing like Animal.
Oh yeah,
Muppets.
She has that energy.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you want to talk about?
Let's see. I guess it's worth saying the reality of like running a rehearsal space is maybe, how can I say this? It might not seem like that exciting or fun or beautiful of a thing to do, to just sort of like make sure your PA system keeps working and keep some amps around. But I used to play in a whole lot of bands in this town in like the early 2000s. I played in, might as well give you guys a list. I played in, so the band that my friend David Woodruff and I started when we were like 14 is called Cardboard. We played for 5 years or so. And then I was in the Delicious with David Woodruff and some other folks, and played in a band called Kentucky Nightmare and Chainsaw Mondays and the Jefferson Street Parade Band and a bunch of other groups too over those years. And now I live in the country and I have a 7-year-old son, and it would be really easy for me to have no idea at this era of my life. It would be really easy for me to be completely out of touch with the Bloomington music scene. And the Bloomington music scene was really formative to me, like going to shows, playing shows and attending shows when I was in high school and college and after college was really helped me stay sane in, you know, as a young adult, and slugging through the music school was no joke. And it was really nice to go out and hear rock and roll and go out and play rock and roll while I was in the midst of this really intense college experience. So what I'm trying to say is it's really beautiful to be hosting rehearsing bands and be able to stay in touch with what the kids are up to, and be somewhat helpful too, to be like a little piece of the puzzle in this town to help all these bands do their thing. Like that's totally beautiful. I love recording groups. I love teaching, and it turns out that hosting rehearsing bands is also a labor of love. It's a really cool thing to get to do in this town, you know?
Yeah. Well, I know pretty sure I can speak for all the musicians in this town that we do greatly appreciate all that you offer.
Cheers.
All of us.
Yeah. Everybody wins, you know? It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
As Steph said, like 90% of the bands that have come through and we've interviewed, they've listed you as an influence or
half of those bands exist because they have your space to
a place
practice.
to be. Yeah. It's sad that it's so hard to rehearse at home for so many people, but if you live in an apartment, it is what it is.
Or
if
a dorm.
Or a dorm, or your neighbors aren't having it and the cops aren't having it, and we can host. We're sort of tucked away off the beaten path. We're kind of far from any houses, far enough away that we've never had a noise complaint. We have some very loud bands that rehearse there, and it's something we can support. We can support the various music scenes because we don't get noise complaints where we are, you know. So that's pretty beautiful. The other thing I'll mention, the Ben Cartha Project has just gotten a new saxophonist caught up on the music, and I think our first show after this podcast airs will be Saturday, March 7th at the Orbit Room, and it's a $15 show with the Sam Finley Trio opening and the Ben Cartha Project closing, and music starts at 7, and we have Bryce Martin on bass, Dylan Maloney on guitar, and Nick Nahara on tenor sax. That's the new lineup, and we'll be taking it out live February 19th at the Bishop and March 7th at the Orbit Room. And we have an EP that's finished. We've kind of been trying to shop it around to some labels and see if anybody wants to help us put it out, but it's quite possible that we will just release that in the next 4 or 5 months. We're really proud of it. It's a bunch of funky, peculiar instrumental music that takes some, you know, it's a bunch of stuff with horn out front, or maybe there's one tune with a horn section, trumpet and bari sax and tenor and alto sax. There's another that I managed to get contact info for Dana Colley, who was the saxophonist in Morphine back in the 90s, and he was willing to play saxophone on my song. So there's one song on this EP that has Dana Colley. He laid down 5 saxes on this track,
nice.
Like a bass sax and 2 baritones and an alto and a tenor, and just brought all this beauty to this, you know, this track that seemed like it had kind of it was the kind of song where it made me think of his old band, made me think of Morphine, and it was a really cool thing to get to collaborate with him on one tune. And what else was I going to say? I'm excited to get that record out and excited to share this instrumental music with the town and with the world before too long.
Yeah, awesome.
Where's the best place for people to follow your musical journey?
Oh, good question. Ben.Cartha.Fowler is on Instagram, and let's see, the Instagram for the Jefferson Street Music Studio is scroll. I think it's JST.
That's what I thought it was.
Music. But I'm going to get it wrong if I don't look at it. Got to give a shout out to Johnny Perrone. He's another drummer in town who helped me get to a level of professionalism on social media, because I pretty much avoid the stuff when I can. JSTmusic.studio. There it is, people. That's the shop, and my band is Ben.Cartha.Fowler at, well, the at's at the beginning, but you know how that works.
Well, thank you so much, Ben, for spending some time with us today.
Thank you both. Thank you, David and Stefanie. Yeah, glad to be on here.